I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Donald Trump's classified documents case has been delayed indefinitely. Judge Eileen Cannon citing significant legal issues that need to be worked out before going to a jury. Meantime, Stormy Daniels took the stand Tuesday in the former president's hush money criminal case. Daniels walked the jury through the $130,000 payment from Michael Cohen to stay quiet about her alleged affair with Trump.
I should be out campaigning right now. We're leading in all the polls. I'd like to be campaigning. We'll be leading by a lot more.
Fears are mounting in the Middle East ahead of a potential full Israeli invasion of Rafah. Overnight, Israel seized control of the Palestinian side of a key crossing into the city. Meanwhile, the U.S. announced the completion of a temporary humanitarian pier system to help get aid into Gaza. Another round of severe storms slammed parts of the Midwest, leaving one person dead in Oklahoma. Multiple tornadoes to lose power, and many communities are now picking up the pieces.
Man, this is Mother Nature. I mean, all we could do is just, take cover.
Walk out and look at the damage and just be glad you're alive.
And those are your headlines now. Let's go ahead and take a look at your weather on the ones.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. We are tracking some storms up in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming for the overnight hours, as well as some scattered storms moving across the Northeast. Now, Wednesday morning, you can see where those storms are. They'll be scattered across the eastern half of the U.S., and they'll intensify in the afternoon across the Mississippi, Tennessee, and Ohio Valley. Temperatures like this for the morning hours on Wednesday: 61 in New York, 61 in Columbus. Still warm for the eastern half of the country. New York, 81 degrees, about 12 degrees above average.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Tazwell. Tension in a Manhattan courtroom. The star witness in Donald Trump's hush money trial, Stormy Daniels, took the stand Tuesday. Daniels, a central figure in the case, went back and forth with defense lawyers during cross-examination. The former president's calling the trial a disaster for the district attorney. Spectrum's Dan Rivoli is outside the courtroom with the big takeaways on day 13.
Stormy Daniels' testimony was so detailed, so graphic, that Trump's defense attorney asked the judge for a mistrial, saying her testimony was prejudicial and that the damage could not be undone. However, Judge Juan Merchan denied that effort for a mistrial, saying that the defense had the responsibility to raise more objections. Stormy Daniels testified about the night she had sex with Donald Trump, an affair he said never took place. She testified about meeting Trump. She was 27 at the time. Trump's bodyguard asked her if she wanted to have dinner with Donald Trump, and after initially declining, she ultimately met up with Donald Trump in his hotel suite. She testified about the conversations they had, including about an appearance on his show, The Apprentice, and then detailed the moments leading up to their sexual encounter. She testified that while she did not say no and she did not feel threatened verbally or physically, she said she felt ashamed that she did not stop it. Meanwhile, fast forward to 2016, and she testified that her manager tried to sell her story about this alleged affair with Donald Trump, not for money, she says, but to get the story out during the election. Her manager said that Donald Trump and his attorney, Michael Cohen, wanted to buy her story for $130,000. Daniels testified about signing a non-disclosure agreement under a fake name, Peggy Peterson, and she testified that the payment money from Donald Trump to Michael Cohen to her attorney who negotiated the deal, Keith Davidson. Davidson had been a witness for the prosecution. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was described as visibly uncomfortable during Stormy Daniels' testimony. Before the trial got underway for the day, Donald Trump addressed reporters where he attacked the central premise to the prosecution, that his payments to Michael Cohen were not reimbursements for the hush money payments he made to Stormy Daniels, but rather for legal services.
Everyone's saying, oh, gee, that's the fraud. That's what they're trying to get us on. The fact that we call a legal expense a legal expense. They marked it down in the books. The check was signed. And the other thing, this was approved by all agencies. Everybody saw this. There was nothing being hidden at all. They have no case. Every single legal scholar that I see, I mean, maybe there's somebody out there, some whack job, but the one that I've seen, I said there's absolutely no case. It's a case that shouldn't have been brought.
Later, Stormy Daniels was under cross-examination from one of Trump's attorneys. She was asked if she hates Donald Trump. She testified yes. And then when asked if she wanted to see Donald Trump in prison, she said, "I want him to be held accountable." That's the latest from here outside of Manhattan Criminal Court. Dan Rivoli, Spectrum News.
Spectrum News spoke one-on-one with the former president, where he addressed a gag order in his trial. The judge overseeing proceedings already ruled he violated the order 10 times and is now threatening jail time. Take a listen.
Well, you can't take away somebody's First Amendment. I mean, you can't take away somebody's freedom of speech. And if they do it to me, they're going to do it to everybody else. It's a terrible thing what he's done. And you have to have your First Amendment rights. I'm fighting for the country. I'm not just fighting for me.
And we'll have more of our interview with the former president. In the Middle East, the death toll continues to rise in Gaza after another round of Israeli airstrikes in Rafah. It was all part of an effort by Israel's military to seize the Palestinian side of the crossing, which is a vital entry point for aid into the enclave. Spectrum's Evan Kozlov is in Washington with the latest, including ongoing efforts to secure a ceasefire.
This new video from the Israeli military shows tanks rolling into the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing on the border with Egypt, raising the Israeli flag and capturing the major point of entry. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calling this an important step that, quote, denies Hamas a passage that was essential for establishing its reign of terror in the Strip. All as Israel weighs a larger offensive in Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians are currently sheltering. The Israeli military has told Palestinians in eastern Rafah to evacuate ahead of a possible operation. The State Department says the U.S. continues to...
This appears to be a limited operation, but of course much of that depends on what comes next. We will continue to make clear that we oppose a major military operation in Rafah.
Meanwhile, ceasefire negotiations continue, a day after Hamas said that it was willing to accept a deal proposed by Egypt and Qatar. The deal would tie the release of 33 Israeli hostages with a pause in fighting and the release of Palestinian prisoners. Israel says the proposal does not meet their demands, but they'll keep negotiating.
Stop the bloodshed.
Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, urging Israel and Hamas to come to an agreement.
Haven't we seen enough? Haven't civilians suffered enough death and destruction?
Spectrum's Evan Kozlov joins us now from Washington. Evan, protests over the Israel-Hamas war continue on college campuses across the country. What can you tell us about ongoing efforts to remove encampments as we are now in commencement season?
Approaches, some taking a more hands-off approach. Wesleyan University, for example, allowed the demonstrations to grow, and they moved from 20 tents last week to over 100 now. Others, though, have actually invited police on to clear out these encampments. The University of Chicago is the latest university to do this, allowing police on to clear out that encampment there. Meanwhile, it is leading to some commencement ceremonies being canceled or scaled back, including Columbia University's main commencement ceremony. Speaker Johnson here on Capitol Hill called that a disgrace. Sharon?
All right. Evan Kozlov in Washington. Thanks. Just ahead on Spectrum News, deadly storms in the Midwest. Cleanup efforts now underway following the powerful storm system.
News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, That was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
It's been a stormy start to the week for many across the lower 48. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. You can tell just by looking at all the storm reports being reported across a big portion of the area here, and many of them having to do with some strong winds you could see from Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, across the plains and out towards the east coast. Now, in terms of rain, excessive rain and some flooding, you can see where those reports are as well. In general, same areas here, and these are the disturbances that are moving across with some cold air mixing in with that warmer air now in place across the plains. So it's going to be a rocky Wednesday here, so it's important to stay weather alert in these areas here. So you can see already bubbling up Tuesday night. Some of that pushing into the northeast Wednesday in the afternoon. Some of you will make it through much of the day without any showers, and then some storms start to pop up there. You can see coming across St. Louis and then across Kentucky as well. And so it looks like Wednesday night, you can see what just came through Kentucky there. Wednesday night promising to be a pretty stormy one. So it's important to stay weather alert, as I mentioned, and then moving down into the Tennessee Valley here. So all of basically the lower and central Mississippi Valley, the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley for Wednesday. It's important to stay weather alert during this time. We have an enhanced risk of some severe storms there that could cause a few tornadoes, some isolated hail out there, and even some damaging winds. Now out west, the storms will be sticking around basically Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. And the rest of the West Coast, though, will be pretty dry. So the next 3 days look like this for St. Louis, Missouri. Thunderstorms on Wednesday, Friday with temperatures cooler. Cincinnati, Ohio, similar pattern here, although we'll keep some showers in the forecast for you on Thursday. Lexington, Kentucky, Wednesday and Thursday will be rainy, and then cooler Friday, mid-60s.
Cleanup is underway in parts of the Midwest. A powerful storm system in Oklahoma leveled homes. At least one storm-related death has been reported. Spectrum News anchor Carla Redditt has a look at some of the damage and where the storms are headed next.
Man, this is Mother Nature. I mean, all we could do is just, take cover.
Daybreak over northeast Oklahoma, revealing the path of a massive, destructive overnight tornado.
Walk out and look at the damage and just be glad you're alive.
Small towns like Bartlesville and Barnsdall, about 40 miles north of savage pre-dawn storm.
We have had significant damage to a large portion of the town. We did have one fatality so far.
Some injured residents were treated at a local hospital, says the mayor, adding that search and rescue teams are still combing through leveled buildings.
As soon as we get done conducting our secondary search, we will begin cleanup.
Cleanup that will be all too familiar for much of the town. Many residents here were still rebuilding from an EF1 twister that roared through in early April. The emotional toll now nearly as devastating as the physical damage.
I know 75 to 80% of the people in this town. The individual that we lost, I knew him very well, and it's pretty tough.
And they may not be out of the woods yet. Forecasters say tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds could revisit parts of Texas and Oklahoma today, with a lower risk stretching into New England and along the mid-Atlantic coast. Carla Redditt, Spectrum News.
An American soldier arrested last week in Russia will be detained for 2 months. U.S. officials say Staff Sergeant Gordon Black flew to Russia to see his girlfriend. He was on leave and about to return home to his base in Texas. His army says Black did not get clearance to travel internationally. Well, Russian officials informed the U.S. Embassy in Moscow that Black was arrested last Friday on theft charges. House Speaker Mike Johnson held a 90-minute private meeting again today with Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene following yesterday's meetup. Well, following the meeting, Greene did not comment, but Johnson called their talks productive and says he's optimistic they can come to a resolution. During a press conference earlier, Johnson says he plans to stay in his position. Johnson's future as Speaker. Several House members are calling for his removal, like Greene. Now, ahead of the meeting, Greene called out Democrats supporting Johnson's leadership. Listen.
They're ready to deliver the votes to save his speakership because they support him because of what he's delivered for the Democrats and the Biden agenda. This is not what Americans voted for. They gave us the majority because they want a Republican agenda, and that's what we're here to work on.
Well, House Democrats plan to vote in the coming days to stop the effort led by Greene, ensuring Johnson won't lose his job. President Biden condemned what he called a ferocious surge in anti-Semitism in America during an address at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. His remarks come as pro-Palestinian protests continue on college campuses nationwide. Spectrum's Daniel Grimes tonight from Washington.
President Joe Biden says since Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis on October 7, triggering the fierce war in Gaza. Speaking Tuesday at the Holocaust Memorial Museum's Day of Remembrance, Biden noted that the attack was the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust.
Here we are, not 75 years later, but just 7.5 months later, and people are already forgetting. They're already forgetting that Hamas unleashed this terror.
Pro-Palestinian protests have been roiling college campuses for weeks, with many demonstrators objecting to the Israeli military's tactics in Gaza. Some protesters have used anti-Semitic language or harassed Jewish students. Although he has repeatedly urged Israel to safeguard civilians in Gaza, his support for Israel and for sending arms to Israel has angered younger voters upset with Israel's conduct. The speech marked a moment of bipartisan forget.
Correct those who deny the facts of the Holocaust or October 7. We must protect our Jewish students, and we must give our full-throated, unequivocal support to the nation of Israel.
Nearly 1 week after the House overwhelmingly passed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which would expand the federal definition of anti-Semitism used to combat discrimination, and just 1 day after Israeli strikes killed nearly 24 Palestinians, the chair of the House Democratic Caucus reiterated his party's priorities.
Defeating Hamas, returning the hostages, and surging humanitarian assistance to Gaza.
The Biden administration announced some new steps to combat anti-Semitism. Now, they include the Education Department sending every school district and college a letter outlining examples of anti-Semitism and other types of hate that could lead to federal civil rights investigations. In Washington, Daniel Grimes, Spectrum News.
This Wisconsin woman, what she says are her secrets to longevity.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm
needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Stormy weather just in time for the midweek. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. Yeah, it's been intensifying over the last few days, but Wednesday we will be watching out for an enhanced risk of some severe thunderstorms across the southern plains, moving into the Mississippi, Ohio, and Tennessee valleys. And so we could have frequent lightning, also some damaging winds, some hail as well, and a few tornadoes all in these areas here. So you can see this risk over Indiana and Ohio and how that's going to change for Wednesday. A much bigger area here, including Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So all these areas, if you live here, stay weather alert. Make sure you have all your notifications, your weather notifications turned on the Spectrum News app, and we will keep you posted as we go throughout the day. Some of these could be nocturnal storms for you Wednesday night into early Thursday. Now, Louisville, thunderstorms for you in the forecast there. Again, a lot of it coming Wednesday late afternoon into the evening hours. New York, we've got rain as well with temperatures in the 80s. Dry for Salt Lake City, but cloudy and sunny, partly to mostly sunny across the west from Seattle all the way down into Southern California. So cooler than average temperatures still across the Rockies, even parts of the Southwest, Las Vegas, 10 degrees below average, and then temperatures above average for places like Charlotte and Columbus and New York. Here, the actual number will be in the mid-70s for high temperatures on Wednesday. The cooler air will start to move south and east as we go through the latter part of the week. So cooling down now here in Columbus, 69 on Thursday, and then Friday, even down into the low 70s for Memphis and Charlotte and New York, back to about the 50s. Saturday will be in the 60s there in New York. So cooler air coming your way. So you have some warmer air to contend with here in Dallas, Texas. There's a 90-degree day for you Wednesday, and then gradually cooling down, but just basically hovering close to average as we dive into the weekend, Mother's Day, Sunday. St. Louis, Missouri, 75 is your average. Above that for Wednesday with some 80s. And then below average Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we go above that just by a few degrees. I'd say 3 to 4 degrees coming Mother's Day Sunday into early next week. Louisville, Kentucky, a warm day, about 10 degrees above average for Wednesday. And then there's that gradual cooling Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Your temperatures in the 60s, mild, really nice.
All right, so TikTok's parent company is suing the U.S. government. ByteDance, the Chinese owner, is looking to stop a law from being enforced, requiring the company to sell the app or have it banned. Well, ByteDance claims the law violates constitutional protections of free speech. Lawmakers argue the TikTok owner is using the app to collect data on its 170 million American users. If the company loses, the wildly popular social media app could be banned by next year. Panera Bread is dropping charged lemonade from its menu. The company has faced multiple lawsuits over the drinks, which were first introduced back in 2022. The lawsuits claim high levels of caffeine led to 2 deaths, and serious health complications will reportedly be off the menu in the next 2 weeks. It's a rare milestone for people to reach 100 years of age. So imagine being 112. That's the milestone Wisconsin's oldest resident just celebrated. Spectrum's Kelly Milan visited the birthday girl to learn more about her incredible life journey.
Amen.
Every day, Ingrid Garrison joins Ruth Esther Strzezuski in prayer. Garrison has formed a close bond with the 112-year-old resident of Parkview Health Center. It's a bond that's lasted throughout Garrison's entire tenure at Parkview.
She is just a remarkable woman.
Ruth was born in Bloomfield, Wisconsin, and raised on a farm. Garrison says Ruth's love for the Green Bay Packers, family, and faith remains strong.
But she truly is. A bit of chocolate she shared with me and wine, so got to kind of incorporate that. My only sunshine, you make me happy when skies are gray.
Garrison says Ruth still has a passion for music. It's a passion that grew out of her nearly 4 decades as an organist and member of a local singing group. Elizabeth Puppeter is a music therapist at Parkview Health Center.
But Ruth has always had music in her life, so it was a really nice stepping stone, and it was a great way for us to connect.
Despite battling COVID twice, Ruth's birthdays continue to impress those around her with each passing year.
When she was 109 for her birthday and received cards over 200, 300 greeting cards from around the world. I was like, this is it. This is the big party, but here we are at 112 years old. She's just...
It was easy.
If only the rest of us could make it look that way. In Oshkosh, Kelly Myland, Spectrum News.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News and 90s coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters. Streaming live on your smart TV and connected devices, plus on-demand weather forecasts, in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News Plus, local stories connecting communities. Exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands? Yes. You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.